So, pretty interesting. Mohammed bin Salman will be arriving to the United States soon, and Donald Trump announced that he will be selling F-35s to Saudi Arabia. This is the first Arab state that will be receiving F-35s. It's going to be the only other state in the entire Middle East, of course, aside from Israel, that owns F-35s. Israel was hesitant and wasn't as supportive of this idea, but take a listen to what Donald Trump said today.
Doing a similar. So you're hosting
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia. Are you planning to sell F-35s to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
And also, are you looking at doing a similar security agreement like you did with Qatar?
Yeah, no, I am planning on doing that. Yeah.
You're gonna
They
sell
want to
the
buy.
F-35s?
They've been a great ally. They've got to like us very much. Look at the Iran situation, what we did in terms of obliterating, we obliterated their nuclear capability. Yeah, I will say that we will be doing that.
You're hosting.
So there you have it. Now, there's a lot to unpack here if you don't know the interesting and odd relationship between Donald Trump, Mohammed bin Salman, and especially Jared Kushner, his son in law, and Mohammed bin Salman. This is the thing. Mohammed bin Salman and Donald Trump have a close relationship. They're on really great terms. Donald Trump's a big fan of him, and vice versa. They have nicknames for each other. Funny enough, Jared Kushner visits MBS on his own on private occasions, and they hang out together. This is the sort of relationship. Now, Jared Kushner is a staunch Jewish Zionist, Donald Trump's son-in-law, and his ultimate aim from the very beginning was basically to have Israel normalized with the entire Arab world without the emergence of a Palestinian state. That's been the end goal. That's what the elite billionaire pro-Israel crowd has been aiming for decades. So, with that being said, the Israel crowd against the sale, however, stated that Israel was actually pushing the United States not too long ago that if the United States were to sell these F-35s to Saudi Arabia, they should have it be based on Saudi Arabia normalizing ties with Israel. Now, of course, on paper, Saudi Arabia has said for as long as for decades that it will not normalize ties with Israel unless there is the emergence of a Palestinian state. That's always been said. That's always been Saudi Arabia's official statement, regardless of course, what's happening behind the scenes. What we're seeing, though, and what the Trump administration's goal has been for a very long time, is for the entire Arab world to normalize ties with Israel. And this seems like effort from Donald Trump to give Saudi Arabia what it wants and eventually cozy them up to the idea of Israeli normalization. We already know that Saudi Arabian royalty are already investing billions of dollars in Jared Kushner's own investment firm that has Israeli ties, that's investing in Israeli companies. So the ties are already there behind the scenes. Of course, this is not all being said out front publicly, because Saudi Arabia still wants to make it seem like it's very heavy, dead set on ensuring a Palestinian state happens. Now, we'll see how things unfold with that moving forward. Just want to show you guys a bit more of what's going on social media. Trump hosts Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman announces F-35 sale amid tensions. Like I just said, that he will be arriving at the White House for discussions on defense, investments, and Middle East diplomacy, including a multi-billion-dollar F-35 fighter jet sale that overrides prior U.S. restrictions. The deal has prompted Pentagon concern over potential technology leak to China and Israeli worries about eroding their regional military advantage. The visit also spotlights deepening U.S.-Saudi ties, Trump family business connections, and potential security nuclear energy agreements set against criticism of ethical issues. Here's the thing, and I've thought this for a very long time. It would be in the United States' interest if you really look at America First policy. I really think that Israel is the biggest liability to America for so many reasons. But if it really came down to America having a great ally in the Middle East that doesn't depend on the United States, that doesn't need billions of dollars a year from the United States, that doesn't need the United States to go to war for it, that doesn't suck away American tax dollars to get free education and free healthcare, that genuinely provides infinite resources in the form of oil, abundant energy, regional superiority, then Saudi Arabia, just logically, seems like it would be the best ally that the United States could have in the Middle East. It just makes sense. Saudi Arabia also has this rivalry with Iran. So there you go. If the United States is worried about this Iran threat and they want something near Iran to be able to oversee and have regional superiority there is Saudi Arabia. So it seems like if it really came down to Israel being the greatest ally in the Middle East and the United States using Israel for something that no other Middle Eastern country could offer it, well, that's simply just false. Saudi Arabia checks all of those boxes. That's the first thing. The second thing is that regardless of these fears from the Israelis that by giving Saudi Arabia these F-35s, it diminishes Israel's military superiority, at the end of the day, that could legally not happen. I'm using legally there very specifically because of the fact that the pro-Israel lobby went into overdrive, has always been in overdrive. And in 2008 and 2012, there were separate laws that Congress passed. And those laws specifically state that the United States will ensure that Israel has military superiority and that the United States will ensure Israel has the weapons and military superiority it needs to always have that advantage in the region. That is a U.S. policy. So the United States could never give something to Saudi Arabia that would ultimately cause a Israeli disadvantage. That could not happen unless the laws are reversed. That is U.S. policy. This is how deep things go, guys. This is how deep things go. So the Israelis, of course, are voicing their concern. Oh no, Saudi Arabia now has these F-35s. First off, for those who don't know, when the United States sells F-35s to a country, they're always a little bit less top notch than the United States own F-35s. So if the United States is selling an F-35 to Saudi Arabia, for example, they're going to be 10% less effective or less powerful than the F-35s the United States keeps for itself, of course, because the United States is not going to sell weapons that are of the same grade that it owns because it weakens the U.S. military advantage. So that's the first thing. The U.S. always sells F-35s slightly weaker than its own stock, which makes sense. I think any country would do that. The second thing, now, of course, the Israelis always push to have this weakened sale removed and just have, the exact stock the United States has. I'm not sure actually what the status on that is, but that's always been something they push for, that they want the exact same model without any of the weakening, I guess, in air quotes, that we do to the ones we sell to other countries to ensure that we have that sort of advantage. So no matter what's going to happen, these Israeli fears are superficial. It doesn't matter. Okay. So regardless of what Israeli officials are saying outwardly and what the Israeli media is saying, because of course the Israeli media doesn't know what the Israeli officials are doing behind the scenes. For all we know, what could be happening is the Israelis encouraging the sale because Donald Trump is promising them and doing behind the scenes negotiations with MBS, stating, we're going to sell these to you. You have to promise us that sometime during this term, you're going to recognize Israel and you're going to normalize ties. Pretty obvious. So now the region could become definitely inflamed if that were to happen. There's a lot of other caveats to all of this. The fact that the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam, is in Jerusalem, and the Israelis are destroying it from underneath, waiting for it to collapse. If that were to happen in the next 4 years, which that is actually a very serious possibility, it's a whole different discussion, but it relates to this, then any sort of normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia, like that, going to be gone, at least for a very, very long period of time, because you're going to have basically the entire Arab world, the entire Muslim world would cause outrage. This is something that's happening that is very likely to happen because we have these Israeli hardliners that are pushing for a religious war. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that even if this normalization were to take place, Israel still has the Palestinian problem, and it still is trying to figure out what to do with them. Of course, push the Palestinians in Gaza out, annex the West Bank, do the same thing there, put them in South African Bantustan's. So regardless of normalization with Saudi Arabia, and of course normalization with Syria, because now Syria's new president, the CIA asset al-Jilani, is in power, and he already said that normalization with Israel is not off the table, despite both of those things, there are still 5 million Palestinians, Gaza and the West Bank, that are occupied and living in apartheid, and that's not going to go away for Israel. And Israel can try to escape that reality, but eventually it's just simply not going to be able to keep the status quo. So we'll see how this sale goes. It does seem like the Trump administration and, all the pro MAGA crowd is very happy with Mohammed bin Salman arriving. Elon Musk is now expected to attend President Trump's dinner. I don't Eric Daugherty. I feel like this Darty. I feel like sometimes he says like some just clickbait stuff, so I don't want to uh see if that's like for certain. Elon Musk will be joining. Seems like that's another statement though. So let's see what else is being said. This comes hours, weeks after multiple business deals announced between the Saudi Global Wealth Fund and the Trump org worth several $billions. The Saudis are one of Trump's family's biggest business partners. Absolutely, that is true. Elon to join a private dinner with MBS. This is coming from Mario Naufwell. So I guess it seems like this is happening. Elon expected to join for a private dinner. Tiger Woods is also expected to attend. Why the hell is Tiger Woods going to be there? Who knows? Who knows? So that's really it for this video, guys. I don't want to keep you guys around for too long. If you found this video interesting, go ahead and click the subscribe button below. I'd really appreciate it. And also give this video a thumbs up. If you want to support my channel so I can do more of these videos, I would really appreciate some super chats. It helps me be able to do this as a full-time job for you guys. So take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.